Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Right now, we have some interesting things that are happening in the after hours after we've had some critical stocks that have reported their earnings. We're going to be talking about Google and Tesla that are experiencing some volatility right now, and basically how Palantir Technologies is really intertwining with all of this because they have their earnings that's going to be coming up in about a week. And we actually have some bearish articles that were released on Palantir. Guess what? One of the main criticisms talking about, of course, its valuation. Too high of a price right now, but if Palantir can beat earnings, I still think we do have the momentum that can be pushed behind it. Even if we see above a $30 price action, we could see a breakout regardless and kind of throwing valuation out the window. Now, if you are a new or returning viewer, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and of course, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm collecting all the data and dispatching it to you. Now, what we see here at Palantir Technologies closing here at 28.81, up about 1.2% on the day, and doing fairly well considering we've had a little bit of volatility in the markets and a little bit of a pullback, specifically with some of the stocks we're going to be talking about here in a moment. One thing I do want to highlight though with PLTR is we see volume that has actually decreased. We've seen last week volume hanging around that 50 to 60 million, coming down here at about 31 million. This is following the previous trading session that was at about 40 million. However, price action and holding at 28 is still doing well. So I think that's going to be important for Palantir to hold the support level here that you can see here at the 27s and at the 28s, holding that level before earnings. And even if we can see a push up here, depending if we see any type of variables or different types of announcements that come in before earnings, that's where we could possibly be seeing that push up into the 30s. Looking at the options here, we are seeing a lot of call volume still at the $29 strike price. This is for end of the week expirations, which shows me that a lot of investors, institutional and even retail across the board, are still taking bullish bets on Palantir. Now, talking about some of the stocks here, we see Tesla that falls here after disappointing earnings. And just a quick summary, you have earnings per share that came in at 52 cents versus 61 cents that was expected and 91 cents a year ago. Sales 25.5 billion versus 24.5 billion, and you have profit margins coming in at 6.3% versus 8 that was expected. Free cash flow also 1.3 billion versus 1.9 for expectations. Now, the company reported a $622 million restructuring charge arising from large layoffs made earlier in the year. So yes, we see not the best earnings for Tesla. However, we do see the price that is falling right now as we speak. Same thing with Google. However, with Alphabet here, they reported second quarter earnings that actually topped the consensus estimates, which is awesome as operating margins actually did improve. However, we see still a little bit of a sell-off here because of the reverse down as management really signaled higher expenses in the September quarter that is going to affect margin growth. So even though Google beat their expectations in terms of guidance for the next quarter, looking like expenses are going to get higher, we see a negative reaction in terms of price action for Google. Now, talking about Palantir, interesting article from Seeking Alpha here, talking about the price makes no sense. And one of the major justifications for the whole fundamentals of this article is due to its valuation. And we've talked about this, and this is one of the biggest things we talk about all the time with Palantir Technologies. Talking about how is AIP a true survivor for PLTR? And roughly, it's important, number one, to recognize that Palantir's share price is around the 2021 levels. And you could think that during that time, Palantir was not profitable, number one, and not bringing in the revenue that it has. Now, what this really can show you is that share prices, they can, I want to say, get out of control. And we've seen this with momentum, and even comparing Palantir right now compared to what it was in 2021 at the same share price, I would kind of argue personally that these price action levels now being supported by kind of previous earnings and what expectations are. Yes, still trading at a high valuation, of course, all the AI stocks. But now Palantir has a lot more positive reports, the balance sheet, what they've been doing in terms of commercial and governmental side of things to actually support the share price, even though it is inflated. And a lot of SaaS stocks are right now, and a lot of AI stocks are right now. And talking about here, they do a lot of analysts and calculations on what really is the real value of PLTR. And they come with lots of different algorithms here and numbers to punch the numbers. They come here with an intrinsic value of $13.55 per share. I think personally, if Palantir Technologies ever comes back down to $13.55 per share, with the amount of momentum that's behind the AI rally right now, and if there wasn't any major huge, I'm talking huge shifts in the market, I don't think personally we're going to see PLTR at $13.55 per share, unless I said there was some basically crazy things happening in the market. Now, the article does talk about could they be wrong. Really, one thing that does need to be kind of suggested is that appreciation of shares can't last forever. We do know this. Palantir, however, has been building some really critical support levels. And not just talking here up in the high 28s, we've seen Palantir establish really important support at the $20 level. And ever since we've seen this run up from the 20s, we've seen after Q2 earnings, or after the last quarter earnings, remember, Palantir went from about $25 testing this level again. So if for some reason we don't see earnings coming out to be as well that was expected, we could possibly be coming down and testing those areas again. And that is not necessarily a bad thing. For people that are still bullish on Palantir, that just allows them for more opportunity to either dollar cost average if they got in at a higher price, or basically if they're sitting on the sidelines waiting to get in at a more attractive position when the shares are more on a sale price, then hey, there could be a possible opportunity. And talking about here, in terms of this, we see continuation of some of the bearish articles coming out here in the media, talking about the CFO offloads 90,000 PLTR shares at $29.36, right below the $30 price. And ahead of the earnings here, August 5th, post-market, we have the same changes for earnings per share revision, still seeing 7 in the bullish direction, 2 in the bearish. Earnings per share is sitting at 8 cents, correlating with the $652 million revenue estimate. And as this comes to fruition, earnings now is going to be 2 weeks away, basically, just slightly less than 2 weeks, which means it's not a ton of trading days. We could see some volatility, and like I said, with PLTR, not a ton of news today, but I will be looking to see if that $30 resistance point is tested here in the near future. Other than the market, what we do have, we talked about Tesla, we talked about Google having a little bit of a slump here after we see their earnings report. Lots of big corporate companies are reporting their earnings as we speak. And on top of that, investors have really largely priced in the chances, remember, of that Federal Reserve cutting their interest rates in September, combined with the confidence in a soft landing. Now, this is sitting to be about a 70 to 80% chance that we're going to see those first interest rate cuts, being left here with an economy that continues to grow, corporations continuing to manage the environment very, very well. And in light of this news and with the expectations of those first interest rate cuts, we do have the smaller stocks, and especially a lot of people are looking at the Russell 2000, these small cap stocks that are continuing their run. And if you look at the price action over the last month, it's doing very well and rose another 1% today. They've really flipped the market's leaderboard, they say here, being zoomed amid the hopes of those upcoming interest rate cuts. And the reason why this benefits the small caps is basically because they can borrow money now at a cheaper price, having access to more resources in terms of budget, in terms of loans, helping to improve and expand their businesses. This is more beneficial for those small cap stocks. And this is why you're seeing a lot of optimism and a lot of speculation coming into the specific indexes, talking about the Russell 2000. With NVIDIA here, we'll end this. We'll always be talking about NVIDIA as it's a leader right now in the AI boom, sitting at $122, basically consolidating on the day. Not a bad thing. Like I said, NVIDIA cooling off. We talked about this in yesterday's video, is a good thing. On top of that, we do have Meta, that they announced the launch of Llama 3.1 405B. Now, this is going to be the first openly available model that rivals top AI models when it comes to steerability, math, and multilingual translation. Now, in connection with this Llama 3.1 release, NVIDIA announced a new AI foundry as well as these different microservices. So not to get too technical right here, is that we have these different big tech companies that are continuing to compete against each other with the models that they are releasing. So it'll be interesting to see how this is incorporated. I don't know if this is having a ton of effect on NVIDIA's price action. It doesn't seem to be right now, but things can always change over time. So that's all that I have for you guys. I want to know, what do you guys think is going to be happening with Palantir, especially here with earnings in the next 2 weeks? Do you think we're going to see that run up to the 30s? And do you think if it touches above 30, could you see that breakout? Or do you think we're seeing a little bit of a pullback here with earnings that's going to be coming up? Peace out, take care, and I'll catch you guys later.